Blender as well. Blender invading your turf, as we tend to do in the middle of the week. Early slate going down, split in two. So we have 2 times to make American dollars playing some Mlb Dfs. This is the first of 2 shows. Another show will be on later today. I believe it's 4:45 when we're coming on here. We're coming on early because the slate starts earlier. So 4:45. If you guys going to play the late slate, some Spencer Strider. Took a peek at that. Love him and his fabulous mustache. We don't have Spencer Strider on this slate or anybody of that ilk when it comes to pitchers. This is a hitting slate, I think. Blender, how are you? Apologies. Again, I say invading your turf, of course, the people know. I'm sure they're probably tuning in. They want to hear you talk about the theory of DFS and all the different ways, different routes you can win some American dollars. You can do that by all means. Work it in the conversation, but we're talking the early slate, split in 2. By the way, split in 2. I shouldn't say that. Fanduel and Draftkings have 2 different slates. Fanduel, the reason why we're on super early, a little bit earlier, is because they are including the Houston-Pittsburgh game. Rich Hill versus Urquidy. Yordan Alvarez taking the day off. No day game for Yordan Alvarez for that Astros lineup, so it does look a little bit weaker than it tends to. Of course, there's no Altuve in there as well. FanDuel does stop. Also, they do not include the 4 o'clock games. They cut their slate off at the Cardinals and the Rockies. 13 total, big boy total in that game because Jose Ureña's pitching, Jack Flaherty's pitching, and the winds are outrageous. The temperature is amazing in Coors. That'll also be a theme of this show. DraftKings includes Milwaukee, Arizona at 340. The Marlins at Philadelphia. There's our chalk pitcher and Zach Wheeler on DK. And Washington versus the Angels on their main early slate. What's up, Blender? How are things in your world? How's life? How's Mlb Dfs? Are we ready to bank one today or what?
Yeah, all you have to do is you play Coors, you play Wrigley. I'm out of here. Do we need to do it? Is the show over?
That's it?
The show over?
It just started. Well, you didn't say anything about pitchers. You want to give us some pitchers?
Look at the projections. Canning, Snell, Wheeler, Giolito, Sonny Gray, Tyler McGill. Play 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
Play a team in Wrigley and a team in Coors, and is crunch time next? We're done, right?
I mean, I feel like that's if you have like 30 seconds to summarize the show. I just went ahead and dropped the link in chat, by the way, for the people. Kevin Roth, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, he'll be on, by the way, in about an hour. So with, you got Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. Cheeseisgood, TJ Zwarych also coming in with the Spidey bombs for sure. Assuming you guys hit the like button enough. Give Spidey those thummy thumbs. Give him the Blender as well. He's kind of a tyrant, TJ, with those thumbs, by the way, with the like button. He won't, like, if he says, listen, Spidey will give a Spidey call at 100, and it's at like 98, 99, he won't give it out. He won't budge. So, you got to make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Winds out everywhere. Obviously the wind affects Wrigley more so than every other ballpark. Some ballparks, most ballparks, they build it. When they make the structure of the ballpark is they consider wind. They try to subdue it as much as possible. Obviously, Wrigley's been around for 100 years or something like that. They have changed stuff around the ballpark, so it's been, whatever its effect was 20 years ago has been lessened, but still, and we saw just yesterday, Wrigley did its thing. We're looking at 10 miles per hour blowing out, and today that was yesterday. Today, 20 mile per hour winds for Chicago, and also it's going to be pretty hot, 80 degrees. So that's going to be spectacular. I was looking at the Weather Edge. Weather Edge was jumping off the board as far as Wrigley, a monster number and a huge sample as well. Weather Edge today for Wrigley, it's 34 games, so not a monster sample necessarily, but we've seen in 34 games, Blender, a 54% increase in similar weather games as far as homers, a 25% increase as far as runs, a 22%, an ERA, of course, getting shellacked as well. 80 degrees, dead center, 20 miles per hour. Awesome hitting weather, for sure. Winds blowing out in Coors. Also pretty hot in Colorado, 83 degrees. Heating up around the country. 11 mile per hour winds, essentially the dead center, right center in Colorado. And you get that if you're a premium member, by the way. You get the Weather Edge tool, I think. You used to be able to buy it a la carte. Maybe you still can. I'm not sure. But why would you do that? Just get yourself some RotoGrinders Premium. The weather report that Roth writes up, I'm fairly certain that's free for everybody. And it's green everywhere. There's no precipitation concerns. Roth continues. He's got that horseshoe, man. He's got that horseshoe. He's had no weather sweats this year. So, I mean, eventually it's going to get him. By the way, speaking of weather, I apologize if you can hear the rain in the background. It's pouring pretty good. Cats and dogs outside my house, but hopefully it's not too distracting. Yeah, Blender. There are some really, really good hitting spots as far as a slate on paper. And then we have a couple other things, like some teams that I don't want to say they're going to be ignored, but like some kind of sort of like unknowns, like the Yankees, right? They got some boppers in the Yankees. You've heard of that Judge guy. He's facing a dude named Peyton Battenfield, who ironically is pitching. Not a lot of, pedigree on this guy, right? And the Yankees are going to.
Peyton Battenfield sounds like someone out of like 1868 Civil War or something. Peyton Battenfield?
It does. The famed Battenfields for sure. And again, Battenfield is a pitcher. He does field. I guess he would have hit bat, if you will. Remember the DH was not a thing? How dumb was that? All the old crotchety guys in baseball finally gave in. But remember how stupid it was that pitchers would hit? Like, that was like 5 years ago. Not even. And half the National League. Other guys other names. I mean, if you liked Peyton Battenfield, right? If you think that's a good name, I have another one for you that might possibly top it. Tyler McGill. That's a fun one for sure. We know about Tyler McGill, but the name I was looking for is, why can't I find it? Oh my God, I'm losing it.
It's because he's 9,100 on DraftKings for no apparent reason.
That's something. Jansen Junk, right? Like, what's a better name, Jansen Junk or Peyton Battenfield?
Well, not if you're a pitcher. You don't want to be called Junk if you're a pitcher.
I mean, you throw Junk and you get away with it, right? I assume. Is that a worse name for a pitcher or Homer Bailey? Which is worse?
Right, that's not bad. I mean, but Zach Wheeler's fine. You're wheeling and dealing, right?
You are wheeling and dealing.
Griffin Canning, right? Cannon. If you don't want to be a can on the mound,
Cannon should be like a right fielder and he can throw guys out from home plate.
Well, it's Canning. It's not Cannon.
Well, whatever. I'm taking liberties with the
Mackenzie Gore. Does that mean he's like he gores people on the mound?
Oh, I don't think he's.
Ray Jameson is drunk on the mound.
Yes. Jameson, on the fringe of being a top 100 prospect, depending on where you're looking. And there's a lot of guys that, we don't really know, right? Jameson, we don't know. Battenfield, we don't know. Not a lot of pedigree.
There's one guy we do know, and his name is fitting, Jose Urinal.
Well, you're talking about Jose Urquidy.
No, not your Kitey. He's not on the slate.
He's on the Fanduel slate.
He's on the Fanduel slate. I'm talking about Jose Urinal. Right?
Urania. Okay.
I call him Jose Urinal.
Yeah, well, on the other side of that game, Jack Flaherty might be worse.
I don't know about that. Like, Flaherty is nowhere near as bad as Jose Urania.
I would disagree.
Flaherty just walks too many people.
Well, you know where a bad place to walk players is? Coors Field. And he's, speaking of horseshoes up the butt, like Flaherty's at a horseshoe this year. 13 walks this season in 10 innings. Outrageous. If you look at Sierra last year, by the way, dating back to last season, Jack Flaherty Sierra is the highest on the board by a ton, 5.68, which is a monstrous number. Urania's 5.22. Oh, sorry. Somebody's calling me in my ear.
Urania has the lowest pitching projection I think I've ever seen.
What I'm going to guess what it is. I haven't looked because I have not considered rostering Jose Urania. Is this according to the bat or according to RotoGrinders?
According to the bat, his mean projection, his average.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's like 5.
1.33.
Whoa.
It says his floor is minus 8.83 and his ceiling is 13.26.
That is amazing. That is incredible. I love that. What's up, chat? Let's see. Chat's chiming in. Rad Dad saying, didn't David Wells pitch a perfect game drunk? So the story with David Wells is he pitched a perfect game on a Sunday afternoon after partying all night at Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live is notorious for post-show. At least it was. I'm not sure if it still is. I feel like it's been toned down a little bit over the years. From my understanding, I've never been invited. I don't know if you've ever been invited to one of those. But they used to have a post-show party, and David Wells partied at Saturday Night Live with the Saturday Night Live people all night and woke up hungover and did throw a no-hitter. Or was it a perfect game? I think it was a perfect game.
That was a perfect game.
Yeah. Shout out to David Wells. Let's see. Oh, Big Meat Pete likes some Blake Snell. Yeah, it's a weird slate. It's a lot of guys that can't throw strikes on this slate. Jack Flaherty.
Why do you think the totals are so high in all these games?
Well, it's the weather too. It's the weather, but like Edward Cabrera is another guy, and this is a small sample stuff, but 7 innings, 13 walks so far this year. Dating back to last season, 14.1% walks. That's way too many. Gore, 12.1% walks. Flaherty, 16.5% walks dating back to last season. And there's Blake Snell. They're talking about Blake Snell in chat, and I don't know, man. He's all over the place. You never really know what you're going to get from Blake Snell, but his walks are bad. Of course, the strikes are good. I think we've seen good Snell and bad Snell this year. Sonny Gray is another guy who's had a spectacular start and a terrible start. Giolito has had a terrible start, but theoretically, well, he's kind of fallen off over the years, but he could be fine. It's whatever we had yesterday as far as pitchers and comfort level, we don't really have today. And I will say on the DK slate, though, I feel pretty good about Zach Wheeler. Of course, the ownership's going to be there as well, taking on the Marlins. That Marlins offense is putrid. It's not very good. Wheeler's probably the best pitcher on this slate. Is that fair to say? Yes?
I mean, from a projection standpoint, yes. But, I mean,
from an any standpoint.
We have to talk about Griffin Canning because he hasn't pitched a regular season game for 2 years.
Yes.
You have the IL marker on DraftKings. That doesn't mean he's he's technically coming off the IL. He threw 90 pitches in a 5-inning rehab start, so it's not like his pitch count is going to be an issue. Do we know what we're going to see? I mean, he's faced like AAA hitters or whatever, and he seemed pretty fine. And
he'll face them today too.
The Nationals are kind of like AAA hitters anyway. So I mean, to me, the mix of pitchers. I mean, I'm more likely to find a way to maybe, like, do you need to play Wheeler? Do you need to play Sonny Gray? I know Sonny Gray had like 13 strikeouts last start, and he is facing the White Sox, who do strike out a lot. But his projection isn't, I mean, anything to write home about compared to anyone else in this range. To me, I view Canning, Snell, Wheeler, Giolito, Gray, and McGill all around this. Like, if you wanted to play just 2 of those guys and choose whatever 2 you wanted, like, they all project within like the range of like 3 points of each other from top to bottom. So like
that's the average projection though. Couldn't you argue that you get Snell on the right day and like his ceiling is probably greater than most of those guys? If not all of them,
because we have the ceiling projections in here as well. That's what the mean incorporates that.
Well, talk about ceiling. Who's got the highest ceiling projection?
Wheeler, obviously, because he has the highest mean projection also.
Yeah.
They're not going to change. It's not going to change that much, right? And obviously, from a pitch count perspective, you prefer a guy like Wheeler because as long as he's pitching okay, he's probably going to pitch 100 pitches.
I'm taking a peek here at Derek Carty's The Bat. Wheeler is projected to throw 95 pitches, 96 for Snell. I have the all-day slate on there. Let me chop it off and make it the early slate because I see Spencer Strider popping up in there. For what it's worth, Jameson not projected to throw a ton of pitches, 70. Cabrera, 79. Jansen Junk, which I think is my favorite name on the board, which is I think Jansen Junk. If you would have to change your name, right? You had to enter the you witnessed the crime, and you had to. It helps us put somebody in jail that maybe might be a little. Let's get away from that scenario. You have to change your name, right? And you got to relocate yourself. Do you want to be now known as Peyton Battenfield or Jansen Junk? Those are the 2 options the government gives you. Which one do you pick?
I'll take Peyton Battenfield.
Yeah.
Do I want to be standing out, Jet Junk? What type of I stand out more. I want to be. I want to be as. I'd rather be the plainest name. I'd rather be Clark Schmidt, right? Just Clark Schmidt. It's like, okay,
2 last names,
right? Jack Flaherty, right? Logan Gilbert, Edward Cabrera. I mean, I don't look like a Cabrera. Logan Gilbert. It's like, okay, hey, I'm Logan Gilbert. I mean,
Logan Gilbert, good pitcher, right? Good pitcher, but he's in Chicago today. By the way, the Chicago lineup not out just yet. I assume.
No, it just came out. It just came out.
Swanson
we got Warner, Madrigal, Happ, Bellinger, Bencini, Hosmer, Wisdom, Mastrobuoni, and Barnhart.
Yeah, so no Dansby Swanson. He went 4 for 4 last night in the next of the game. Injuries just ravaging his family. His wife is probably not going to make it for the World Cup.
Who's Dansby Swanson's wife?
Mallory Swanson, I believe her Mallory Pugh. I want to say her.
Oh,
her
okay.
name.
I didn't know they were married. I know Mallory Pugh.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the women's soccer player. Yes.
Yeah, you're a soccer person.
Right.
Yeah, I saw she's probably not going to be available for the World Cup, which I think happens in July. I want to say. I was reading about that the other day. Yeah, so no Swanson, no Samsonite either in that Chicago lineup. But facing in Wrigley today, man, it's going to be hard to get away. So that's where I want to pick your brain. You're great for this kind of stuff. Like, how do we not play Coors? How do we not play Wrigley?
Yeah, X them out, Dean. It's very easy. Just X them out. That's how you not play him.
And is Aaron Judge not going to get played against a dude named Peyton Bettenfield? Is that going to happen?
No. The Yankees will have some ownership. I mean, I'm looking at ownership right now. I mean, obviously, it's going to be heavily concentrated on the Cardinals. Right? The Cardinals are clear chalk. Yes. I mean, obviously, the Seattle is going to be probably the second most owned team. And then it's a mix. Then it's kind of like you get some Chicago, some Colorado. Obviously, I mean it's typically those two games. It's the totals and the pricing. I mean, like I'm looking at stuff more like Arizona, right, against junk, right? If he's going to throw junk, why not take advantage? But like if you ran from a median projection standpoint, like I could run 105-man stats, dude. The Cardinals, it's like the first 17 million lineups are like the Cardinals until you get to like another lineup, right? Like it's constant. It's the team. Once you add the correlation of 5 batters together, it's like that team projects like 10 points higher than any other team on the slate because they have over a 7 total in Coors. But the ownership's going to be there as well. So I mean, like what I'm getting right now with the bat is, I mean, look, I just ran 100 lineups. I capped stacks just to see what comes up. Heavy Cardinals, then Mariners, then Rockies, then Cubs, and then after the Cubs, I'm getting a little. Then it's kind of spread out. Then it's kind of like a bit of the Phillies, a bit of the White Sox, a bit of the Brewers, a bit of the Diamondbacks, a bit of the Padres, a bit of the Yankees, a bit of the Twins, a bit of the Indians.
But there's a clear line,
lineup,
right?
One Angels lineup. So it's like it feels like if you're playing large field, you could possibly, if you want to play a 5-man stack that is not one of the Cardinals, Mariners, Cubs, or Rockies. Like you could do like the rest of your lineup could be those
whatever you want,
right? Like you could if you're gonna play an Arizona stack, like then play a 3-man card, then play 3 Cardinals in that lineup. Play Zach Wheeler and Griffin Canning in that lineup. I think once you get away from those 2 games, if you're gonna use it as a stack, just fill the rest of your lineups with the best projected players at that point. I mean, like at that point, I don't think you need anything because all those other teams are going to be under-owned enough that, dude, it's more than likely that one of the four teams in those 2 games as a 3-man stack give you enough points. Maybe they're not the best 5-man stack. So like I'm leaning more towards that. Or you could do the opposite also, right? I don't think. See, the thing is that if you're going to play chalky pitchers, I'm not sure about playing like a 5. And if you're playing large field, play 5-3, and do like I'm going to do Cardinals Mariners, which is kind of what I did. Yeah, I did a 5-man Mariners last night with the Cardinals. I could do pretty much the same lineup again if I wanted.
The wrong man, like J-Rod was like 0 for 5 or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I had such a good lineup but it had Manoah in it also. Right, it had Julio Rodriguez with 2 points and Manoah with 4 points, and I have like home runs and 20 points out of like every other slot in my lineup, and it's like okay.
I see an IL stint coming from Manoah, by the way. I think his velocity was down, and he looked pretty horrendous yesterday. Don't be surprised if he hits the IL. But go ahead, continue.
But from a strategic standpoint, I mean that's really what you should be looking at because like in the bat, like I just ran 100 lineups just with stack caps just to see. So from a projection standpoint, the first 5-man St. Louis stack with everything that fits in of one-offs and everything, 124. Mariners 119, Rockies 117, Cubs 115, Phillies 110, White Sox 98, Brewers 111, Diamondbacks 110, Padres 106, Yankees 110, 109 for the Twins, Indians 107. So we're kind of seeing that like 105 to 110 range for any other team. But remember, the Cardinals 124, right? Mariners 119, Rockies 117, Cubs 115. Like the Cardinals project, like if you're going to play the Arizona stack, essentially you're giving up 14 points in projection to do so, which it's not NBA, Dean, right? These aren't normally distributed player outcomes. These are more bimodal player outcomes, and correlation in MLB is much stronger than it is in NBA. So if one player does well in your lineup, it's more likely that another player from the same team does well. 14 points in DK. What gets you 14 points on DraftKings?
Solo
home run. So just understand that even though you give up 14 points in projection from a mean perspective or a median perspective, like, dude, all to make that up is like one solo home run or just one. You have 5 players from one team, from let's say the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, or the White Sox, or something like that. If they go bing, 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 it's a double and then a single and then a stolen base and then a home run. It's like, dude, you can make up 14 points and you can make up 25 points in one inning. So don't be necessarily scared off by, this lineup projects for 14 median points lower. You're playing large field GPPs. If the ownership is low enough, like if you're getting enough of an ownership discount, right? You wouldn't play 2 lineups with the same ownership like that, but you should be getting much lower ownership that, do you have to play a Cardinal stack? No. But of course, you're getting so much lower ownership on that 5-man stack that it doesn't mean you don't have to play any Cardinals, right? If you want to play Goldschmidt as a one-off in your first base spot or Arenado, you have the money. This is a slate where a salary almost doesn't matter either, right? Because they're slowly pricing up the Cardinals until they leave Coors, and then they play wherever they play next. They're going to be too expensive. Like this is what DraftKings does. It's just like they're absurdly underpriced the first game in Coors, and then the next 2 or 3 games they slowly come up in price, but not enough that they still project well. And then they'll go play in like Miami and all be $7,000. And be like, well, look what they did the past couple of games, and then no one plays them because they're overpriced.
Blender, I don't think you said the Mets. Bobby in chat saying Mets ownership projection really low, nice pivot stack. And this is one of those deals where, like, if he goes bad, sometimes he goes really bad. He just can't throw strikes. He walks the world. He, takes 85 pitches to throw 3 2/3 or something like that. Not a great ballpark, obviously. The team total, the Mets aren't really popping. But, again, if you want to bet on Snell, and that's kind of it works both ways because Snell is just going to grab some ownership for sure.
It's just that they're expensive. Marte, Lindor, Alonso, it just... like you're not getting it there if they have a 4.34 implied total, and
but what are you spending
more
salary
expensive
on?
than most of the other teams on the slate.
That's fine. Like that's
they'll be extremely low on. Yes, if you want to play the Met stack, go for it. I think it's only a large field thing. Yeah. Once you plug in the Mets, you just plug in the best everything. Just get as high of a projection as possible, right? Because I mean, look, I ran 100 lineups and I capped stacks and I didn't get a single Mets lineup. So I can only imagine how low projected compared to the Cardinal stacks they are. Probably 20 plus points or something, right? So you can and that's if you play. That's if you play a lineup with 5 Mets and 3 Cardinals or something like that, and the 2 chalk pitchers. So if you go even do that, you can be giving up like 30 points in projection, and then now you're getting to a little bit of more excessive levels.
We got to some shout outs to the Blender yesterday. GR Sauce. Blender had a great teaching show yesterday. Yeah, in this time slot, Monday through Friday? Sometimes. I think it's typically Monday through Friday. And MMA you're talking about sometimes. You're digging into the results, DB. What do you go for an hour and a half? Is there a specific time or just whatever you feel like?
No, it just goes as long as it goes. Typically an hour. Typically 11 in the morning. I'm here Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock in the morning. On the DFS pregame show. I mean, except for this Friday, I have a dental appointment, so there will be no show on Friday.
Dental plan.
A dental appointment. I might Dean. Have you ever heard of a dentist that they close at 2:00 every day?
That seems interesting too. Do they reopen or that's it? They're done for the day
That's
at
it.
2:00.
They're open from 7 in the morning to 2 p.m.
Okay, I guess they have a golf game to get to or something like that. But that's interesting.
It's an all female.
Like 7 a.m. Who's waking up at 7:00 in the morning to get their teeth?
People
mashed?
that have to go to work at 9. I assume. I assume that's why they do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's hard to get an appointment where I do a show in the middle of everything. So it's like a lot of times they're like, yeah, we could get you in, especially if you have like a 2-hour window. Like if I need to get a crown fixed, so they need that 2 hours. It's like, okay, well, I have a show from 11 to 12. It's like, well, like we could book you at 12. It's like I can't get there by 12. It's like,
so you're saying you can't even get an appointment at 2? He's out the door. She's out the door.
Right. You can't get an appointment at 2. The latest appointment you could get is 1:00.
That seems. I mean,
right. So then I have to take whatever I get. They say that I have a 9:30 appointment. I get a 9. Okay, what else am I supposed to do?
So GR Saw said you helped him get on the Cub stack yesterday. And Brock in chat saying, watch the free show yesterday, turned $94 into $862. With Lopez and Burns. Yeah, good combination yesterday. Brock is thanking you. So there you go. Good show yesterday. Results are proving it out. James in chat's asking about 4-4 builds on DK, all good offenses. Yeah, obviously Fanduel forces you to go. You can't go 5 on Fanduel. You got to go 4-4 if you want to double stack like that. I think you gravitate toward 5-3 on DK. Is that fair to say?
Well, just at least 5-man stacks. I mean, yeah, correlation helps you in baseball. So sure, if it projects well enough, I'd rather have 3 guys from the same team than just 1-1-1. But I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you're stacking the main team. And I don't think it matters that much as a heuristic. If you just always like at least have a 5-man stack, like on DraftKings, you're probably not making bad lines. But
you're open to a 4-4 basically on DK. That's fine too.
Yes,
I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't get into the weeds so much. Just make sure that you call. Don't play 8 1-offs. Don't play the Dino lineup.
I was setting you up for it. That was really
you're setting me up for 1-1-1-1-1-1-1.
Oh, geez.
Good old 8 stacks in your lineup, right? That's what you say. You say they're 8 stacks. I got 8 stacks. I got eight teams going.
What is a stack? Because the two players on the team is a mini stack, right? I think. Maybe
anything's a stack.
Well, no, one player on a team is not a stack. One player in itself?
Why not?
That's a one-off. It's not a stack.
Okay. They're
talking about the Cubs lineup, how terrible it is. Yeah, it looks really bad without Swanson. Good Lord. How does Wisdom hit 7th? How is there 6 guys hitting in front of Wisdom? Wisdom, power hitter, and a fly ball hitter, the best fly ball hitter in the team. And this is the day where you want to hit fly balls. You put the ball in the air, it goes over the fence. That's how it works. How are Horner, Madrigal, Happ, Bellinger, Mancini, and whatever the corpse of Eric Hosmer is hitting in front of Patrick Wisdom?
Wisdom strikes out too much. That's why.
Who cares? We don't care if you strike out. But what happens when he hits the ball? He hits homers. And especially today, like specific to the weather. Fly balls. He hits 50% fly balls, right?
Are you his agent or something? Why are you arguing so hard about this? That's where he's at. He's at 7th. Who cares? To play him or don't? He's 46.
Because somebody, a manager, a professionally trained person, allegedly, looked at his lineup. He knows his team, and he says, this is where this guy should hit. And it's like, look, he knows the team better than I do. But all I can tell you is that specific to today, you want guys to hit fly balls, right? Why would you
maybe Patrick Wisdom's lucky number is 7. And it's superstition. That's why he bet 7th.
He loves the slot machines, apparently.
Right. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Maybe he has the wisdom to bat him 9th, bat him 7th.
Yeah, maybe he does. I mean, he's sitting in front of a Barnhart and a made-up player and Mastro Bueni. And that's it. That's the only guys he's in front of. A backup catcher and a person that doesn't really exist. I need a proof of life on that guy.
Someone needs to be the caboose, Dean.
Yeah.
It's an important role.
Yes. I played Wisdom yesterday and it didn't work out. But that's not, I mean, Blender, what do you say to people that say, I played so-and-so yesterday and it didn't work? Like that's.
You got to put them on your no playlist until your no playlist has every player in baseball. I see people do that all the time. Never again. Never again.
If you did that,
never again list, like probably 300. It's like it's going to be hard
by
to
day,
for people.
Yeah, you run out of names by day like 45, like a month and a half into the season. It's like, okay, I have nobody left. Everybody's on the never again list, so I have no idea who to roster. people lie about the never again thing for sure. Let's talk about pitchers. We kind of mentioned them in passing. Let's take a peek as far as the ownership. I imagine Wheeler is going to grab the most ownership, giving our refresh. Maybe we have an update as far as our ownership projections. Wheeler, again, that game only on the DK slate, not in the Fanduel slate. If you have any questions in chat, by all means, fire it off. Feel free to give us the details. If you're playing Fanduel, if you're playing DraftKings, if it's for cash, if it's for tournaments, if it's for a single entry tournament, if it's for a 3-entry max tournament, if it's for a large field contest, all that stuff matters when considering answering a question. No surprise, Zach Wheeler grabbing 44% ownership against a bad Miami team. Sonny Gray coming off that, 12 or 13 strike outing, getting 29% ownership. Blake Snell, 21%. Giolito, he got his face fully punched in and smashed last time out. 17% ownership in Minnesota. Buxton is back in this lineup, right? I believe he's playing again. Is Correa in it? I don't think he is. Yeah, no Correa. It's a bad Minnesota lineup. Man,
Buxton is good for Gio.
I mean, you can argue both sides of it, right? It's like when you're facing Giancarlo Stanton or something, or Joey Gallo. No Joey Gallo, obviously, for Minnesota. He's still out. But, yeah, if you're thinking about upside, you want to get guys that strike out a good bit. But
Nick Gordon is batting cleanup. To me, I think Giolito is the under-owned pitcher. I mean, I have his strikeout prop, 5+ strikeouts. If you have the bat projections, you would have gotten that. I don't know if that's gone up to 5.5 or anything, but
on Prize Pick?
There's a prize pick. I don't know. Did it move? I don't know.
I was on it before the show. I was trying to see.
5 and it's up to 5.5. You missed it.
You moved the needle. You and Cardi moved the needle apparently.
Right. The bet. No, I got all the bat props before. I mean, Urquidy, I got at 5, who's down to 4.5. Right, under on that. Clark Schmidt was under 4. Now he's at 3.5. I got who else?
Love that at 4.
Who else?
Cleveland doesn't strike out.
Mackenzie Gore was 5, and now he's 4.5. I have the under there. Right, that's coming up later today. I mean, then you got Underdog that had a couple. Like Flaherty's still at 4, I believe. I mean, I have the under 4 there, but I mean, some of these things. I mean, you got to get them before they move.
When are you getting this? Like midnight or something like that? Early morning?
No. They don't post. They only post like the really early games, like late in. Most of the time now they're posting in the morning.
Yeah, I couldn't find
I got these at 8:30 in the morning.
I was looking at it like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
They don't post much anymore. They wait into the morning because Underdog always waited until the morning. Now Prize Picks is more. I don't have to worry about staying up at 1 in the morning anymore because they really don't post much. And I can get it when I get up. A lot of times I get up early. I get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock, right, for a little bit, and then I go back to sleep. But I'll get up and I'll go on my phone and go, did anything great get posted? And if nothing great got posted, I'll go back to sleep and I'll wake up at 9:30, and that's how I hit all of these. I hit all of these before the show, right, on both sides, and then you see which the best line and the best payouts, and then you choose where you want to deploy your capital on both sides. So I already gotten taken care of all of this, beforehand, and that's why you use projection. I mean, dude, I'm not doing this out of well, this guy is going to do whatever. And I literally just load up the bat projections. And I go, well, that number's lower than that number, and then
Alan and chat, by the way,
takes involved. It's just I'm just looking at a number, just like my Venom Bomb today. If anyone wants my Venom Bomb, it's Cal Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh's the guy most likely to home run today.
Well, that's right. That, but Raleigh and Goldschmidt have the same home run projection.
Is it I'm going to guess? Is it point? I'm going to say it's 0.33,
0.36.
Okay. Close.
There's actually a lot of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players today that have a home run projection in the bat 0.3 or above.
And they're all in either cores or it might maybe Aaron Judge. They're either in cores. They're all in cores, Wrigley, or their name is Aaron Judge.
No. We got there's one guy in there. There's 2 guys in there that don't fit that out of the 9.
Okay, so that means there's 6 guys in Wrigley and Coors. There's Aaron Judge, and there's 2 other people.
Right.
Huh.
At 0.3.
Hold on, let me see who they are. This is important stuff now. And the chat, feel free to play along and guess as well. Who else could it be?
One we literally just talked about.
Byron Buxton.
There you go. There's one of them.
Is the other one?
The other one is from a team that we pretty much didn't even mention.
Okay, so it's not the polar bear. Let's see.
It's from a team we don't even have the lineup yet.
Huh. Oh, it's got to be Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, there you go.
Ding ding.
But Jared Kelenic, who's like $3,000 on DraftKings, right? Kyle Raleigh's 3,800, and these guys all have the same home run projection. Nolan Gorman at 3,900, same home run projection as Goldschmidt, Judge, Schwarber, Buxton, right? Arenado, right? And those guys are 2,000 more expensive.
Question in chat from Aaron: Diaz or Raleigh for DK Cash?
Probably Raleigh.
Well, my first answer would be like whichever one plays, because I would bet that one of those guys don't play today. You know, catcher, day game after a night game, one of them probably sits. That's just catchers typically, not always. We'll get.
No, but I could see Raleigh being a DH.
I could see that too. Yes, we saw.
I don't see Diaz being a DH.
Well, I mean, that Colorado, they don't have a lot of hitters in that team.
Right, true.
Moustakas
but I think it's more likely
DH,
that like Moustakas would be DH or something like that. They'd get like Diaz isn't really like the greatest hitting catcher, but Cal Raleigh is actually a good hitter, at least a power hitter.
And he's got a great nickname too, which is fun to say.
Is the big dumper or something?
Yeah, what do you mean or something? You either are the big dumper or you're not. You're not.
Okay, I knew it was something like that. I don't know, big dumper. Dude, I'm a big dumper. I'm a huge dumper.
What I have no further questions. I have no follow-ups.
The biggest dumper there is.
I don't know what you're insinuating, but I'm just gonna casually.
I'm insinuating I poop a lot, Dean.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't think Cal Raleigh. That's the intention behind his nickname, right?
No, the inspiration was he's got a big caboose. Somebody said it. One of his teammates talked about it and thinking spring training or something like that. I'm not really sure how it came out, but that's what that was. There you go. Do we think Minnesota? This is a great Blender question. Do we think Minnesota gets the Giolito today? What do you think, Blender?
I don't think anything.
Well, what do the projections say?
Well, the projections have Giolito's median outcome is higher than the Twins' median outcomes. So probabilistically, if I had to bet even money on, do I think Minnesota gets I would say no. Do I think that happens today? I have no clue because who cares?
Well, we care. It's just like trying to figure it out is the tricky part, and you don't want to try to figure it out.
Well, I'm just trying to make the best decisions in the long run. And according to the BAT projections, it is more profitable at their ownership to play Giolito than it is to play the Twins.
But I would just say we care. I wouldn't say we don't care.
Out 1,000 times, you'd be better off with Giolito than the Twins.
So
obviously, out of the 1,000 times, there's probably 200 times that Giolito gets killed.
I don't know much about Julian, the person allegedly playing batting eighth for Minnesota today.
It just has one name, just Julian.
Well, I didn't know how to pronounce his first name. It might just be Edouard, and it's just spelled a little bit differently.
What team are we talking about? I don't even know.
Minnesota, the Twins.
Oh, the Twins. Edouard Julien.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's the team chef or something.
I don't.
Is the team chef bad? Is he playing second base?
They have some injuries, so he might have got the call up. I don't know
of
his status.
Chef. It sounds like we got the guy from catering to play second.
According to TJ, he's a stud prospect. He's a Canadian stud prospect. Hold on a second.
Okay.
What is
that's the adjective. It's like, okay. So the grading curve is because it's Canadian. We gotta
could that be French Canadian?
Downward.
Hold on, let's see. I'm gonna check his prospect status because I'm usually aware of most of the prospect status. The guys that are like worth noting. Let's take a peek. 18th round pick in 2019. Number 4 prospect for the Twins. Is this supposed up to date? He was just called up. Okay, yeah, number 4 prospect for Minnesota. Second baseman. I guess he's kind of a legit guy. He's got some power. He's got some pop.
He may even have a Michelin star.
I can't confirm or deny that. But Giolito is reverse splitsy, right? So righties get to him more so than lefties. This Minnesota lineup, it's got a fair bit of righties. I think there's just 3 lefties, one being the uber Canadian prospect, Julian. Now I feel like I don't want to manipulate Spidey Bums, but I feel like now all of a sudden, just out of spite, Spidey, I don't know if he listens to the show or not. I know TJ's listening. What's up, TJ? He'll be on in about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes with Dave Potts. They'll go around the horn, give their favorite plays position by position. The people love that. And, of course, Kevin Roth will be on to tell you how fabulous the weather is from a hitting perspective all around baseball. Just spectacular, kind of the theme of the slate today. But maybe Julian will be a Spidey Bomb today. We'll see how that works out.
0.09 home run projection. I don't think it's going to be.
Well, you know the bat hates prospects, right?
Oh, so that's the reason. Oh, okay.
I just saying, like, and typically it's correct. I know people like to point to Cardi and say, look at Tatis, he's good. And like, yeah, okay, there's a prospect that was great right out the gate. But typically it doesn't work that way, right? Look at Volpe for the Yankees. He's struggling. That stuff just sort of happens. Last season in AA, 17 homers, 19 stolen bases. A little bit of pop, a little bit of wheels, a couple homers this year and a stolen base in AAA. Was he called up for Gallo? Maybe, I'm not sure. But there you go, bit of a prospect.
But look at the bottom of that lineup. Jeez.
Look at the entire lineup. It's just not good, man.
But also, there's a lot of. But the thing is that the Twins, there's a lot of strikeouts in there.
Taylor will strike out a good bit for sure. Larnack, 33% Ks versus righties. Jeffers a lot of strikeouts, 24.5% collectively. But you know, it's weird because we've seen these pitchers like just kind of go both ends of the spectrum. Giolito again got absolutely smashed last time out. That we've seen that happen before. We've seen him have elite games in the past, not too long ago. It's happened. And Sonny Gray is another guy. But on DK, where you got to roster 2 of these guys, or even on Fanduel where you can't get Wheeler, you're not going to feel great about your pitcher, Blake Snell. Obviously, the upside for Snell, like he can go 5 and strike out 11. He can go 4 and walk 8. And like both those things are possible.
He could go 8 and walk 8 and strike out 8 and give up 4 runs.
What's his pitch count? He can't do that mathematically. You can't go 8, strike out 8, and walk 8 unless every other hitter like pops out on one pitch. Like I guess that's possible. But otherwise, I don't think that's going to play itself out. What are your leans as far as pitchers? Are you just going to play Zach Wheeler on DK
it depends on the stats that I play. I think if you're going to play a 5-man stack from the Cardinals or even the Mariners, consider getting at least a little bit different because the pitching the ownership is going to be spread out enough. I think Wheeler is clearly going to be the highest owned pitcher.
Yeah,
and then it'll be like Gray and Canning and Snell in kind of a little group. And then we get like Giolito and McGill kind of together. And like if you're playing the Cardinals, like don't play Wheeler. Play like Giolito, Snell or something like, something like that.
I think you can play Wheeler in the Cardinals. You could be different and do both those things, right?
I guess. I mean,
you don't think so?
I mean, just run the lineups and see. I mean, they'll have to get different in the other 3 spots. I mean, that's the core of what we're doing in DFS is that, we're trying to not build bad lineups. And what are the bad lineups? The bad lineups are lineups that are way too high owned or way too low projected. So as long as you're not building lineups that are way too high owned or way too low projected, you're pretty much fine. So like even if you were hand building, right? Just think in those
You
terms.
say that so condescendingly, like you look down on people that hand build.
But I say hand build, to me, there's no difference. And I don't use an optimizer to go, I'm going to put in all my settings and then press a button and then spit it out. I use Lineup HQ to build like hundreds of lineups, and then I'll just choose the 3 or the 5 that I play. Like, so am I and then I take it, and then I actually go into the app on my phone and put in the player's name. So that's hand building, right? I mean, but it's just that I'm not going, let me plug in Canning, let me plug in Geo, let me plug in this guy. Let's see what money is left. It's like, dude, it's so much easier to just like, I'll just run like 600 lineups and then just see what shows up and here I was like, this looks good, that looks good. This one is too high owned. This one is too low projected, and just go, okay, here's a lineup I'm going to play. Here's another lineup I'm going to play. Here's another, and then you plug it in, right? So it's not like I'm not setting exposures or anything. I'm just looking at the lineups holistically. So I'm not dead set on I have to fill this out in a certain way, because then you could just look and say I'm looking. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that the Colorado White Sox 5-3 projects this well and at this low ownership. I may not have realized that if I didn't run like 600 lineups and see.
Joe wants to know if we would play pitchers from the same game. As a general rule, I have no issues with that. I guess you know, obviously you can't get wins from both guys, and like I suppose it kills your upside to some degree, but I don't really care. The win's not worth enough for me to care about such things. I'm not sure what two pitchers he's talking about today.
In a 50-50 spot, I'd prefer not to.
Sure, ideally, I'd rather
it's
not.
Not anything that I would prioritize. No.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making too. Yeah, I don't care enough. Ideally,
there is a negative correlation, but it's not that much of a negative correlation.
Another Joe wants to know, how do you feel about the Guardians for tournaments today against Clark Schmidt and his two last names? What's the bat saying for the Guardians today?
They're fine. They're fine. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just looking at just running. All I'm doing is just running lineups. I mean, the Guardians come up. Okay, maybe they come up a little on the back end, but they're not much different. Like the Guardians aren't that much different from the Padres or the Yankees or the Twins. They're in that bucket. I would put. This is what the buckets I would put them in. Okay, for stacks. The first bucket is the Cardinals, and they're in a bucket by themselves. Then I think the second bucket is the Mariners, the Rockies, and the Cubs.
Yeah,
and then
very clear. There's a break. There's a break.
Yeah, right. Then there's a break, and then there's another bucket. I would put that bucket as the Phillies, the White Sox, the Brewers, and the Diamondbacks. That would kind of be in a bucket. And
Did
then
you say Yankees, but yet or no?
Yeah, the Yankees. The next bucket would be like Padres, Yankees, Twins, Guardians, and then everything else is in now you're in the bottom bucket. You know what happens in the bottom bucket?
What happens in the bottom bucket?
Remember, I'm the big dumper.
Yes, I was. Is that where the Marlins reside, in the bottom bucket? I feel like
probably.
They do, right?
They're probably in
the Nationals. I'm not sure.
If they'll be low owned. I mean, you could. I mean, they're the buck. Once you get towards the bottom, the buckets like they kind of stack up on top of each other. So it's like the difference between the sixth bucket and the fifth bucket. It's still kind of filled with a little bit of poop. Still gets hit.
The other thing is, by the way, like, I can get the low owned Marlins at 1% or 2% or 3%. You can get like actual good plays for like 5%, for 6%, right? So why not get the good players for an extra percentage point that really doesn't matter a ton? I assume you're on that side.
That's the reason, is that most of the ownership gets condensed up towards the top, and like the difference between a average 3.8% owned stack versus a 2.4% owned stack, like the contest sizes aren't large enough. If you're playing like 500,000 entry contests, maybe that difference would matter.
Yeah.
Because there would be more lineups that have those players combinations. But in the contest, we have 16,000 entries in the large field in DK today. Just play the higher projected players at that point.
No lineups in the last 40 minutes. Last one we got was the Cubbies. In chat, Conscious Machine talking about, hey, played Ashcraft and Elder the other day. It was a 1-0 game when Extras got no wins. And you know what? You got 0 wins, but you're happy about playing Ashcraft and Elder, right? Didn't matter. Didn't matter.
But just to be clear, they are negatively correlated. It's just that
it's
not the strongest of negative correlations enough that, like, if they project well enough, am I going to get an extra point of projection? But they pitch against each other, then that's fine, because the win could. I mean, even if I just look at the bat projections, the win projection, right, for a lot of pitchers, I mean, you rarely get win projections that are like over 0.5, if not 0.4,
even. Yeah.
Right? Wheeler is 0.46, right? We have
that's probably the highest on the board.
0.43, right? So like once you combine them both together, it's like all you're really giving up is a negative correlation of maybe a point between the ceiling of the lineup. And if you could make that up in projection, then you're fine. Then it's no big. If it's purely 50-50, you're like, well, I can play this guy or that guy, and I have the money or something, and it's the last spot. Then and it's similar projection. I'd rather not play the pitchers against each other. But that would be at that point. It wouldn't be something that I'm like going into groups and lineup HQ and like, oh, you can't do this. It's like, no, it's if you never paid attention to it, it probably wouldn't matter in the long term for your profitability.
What about the Canning-Gore combination? Brock is asking. Canning we haven't seen in several years. Last we saw him, the K rate was 22.4%, walk rate too high at 10.1%. But I guess one of the biggest strong points, the big selling point, is he's facing Washington. Washington, essentially, a quad A team. The Nats, their lineup has not been rolled out just yet, but spoiler alert, it will be bad. How do you feel about Canning and Gore? Well, there you go. That's two pitchers in the same game. I don't know if I'm doing that. Gore, obviously,
I'm not playing. I mean, Gore doesn't project well enough, so
yeah.
And you don't need the set, and it's not like you need the salary. I mean, it's like I know he's 6,700. But like, what do you need the salary for? I mean, there's plenty of cheap people in all these stacks that you could play. That like, I'm getting more lineups that I'm playing Wheeler just because I have the money. And even though it's not like he projects all that. I mean, the bet has him at like 17.87, and then Snell is like 15.96, and
that's
Canning
not an incredible
15.
projection, actually.
It's not humongous enough, but it's two extra points that like. Yeah, he's 9,700, but where am I deploying that salary to? We're getting a Cardinals lineup in. Donovan is leading off. Donovan, Burleson, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras, Gorman, O'Neill, Walker, Motter. So no Edman.
Enough of Motter. What is this Motter nonsense?
What's the matter with you?
What's the matter with the manager for writing his name? And also, why was Donovan leading off left on left versus Freeland was so weird. Like,
Freeland's not much of a strikeout pitcher. I don't think that splits matter that much.
I don't like it. Walker batting eighth. Like, Arenado's DHing. Okay, that's what's going on here. I was wondering why not put Yepes in or something like that. But Motter basically kind of rotated around. I think he's an outfielder. I thought he was an outfielder. But he's playing third base today.
I mean, he'll probably get pinch hit for it by the end of the game anyway.
Also, what's his name? The shortstop is not playing. Tommy Edman is not playing.
I didn't. I just said that.
Was that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yes, I said Edman's not
in. Okay.
That's the most important thing. And when it comes to like, especially if you're building cash lineup, is there any shortstop eligible player for the Cardinals now?
Is Donovan shortstop eligible? That's where he's playing today, but I'm not sure if he's actually a shortstop.
No, he's second base only on DraftKings.
So
Gorman is second base eligible, and Donovan is second base eligible. Tommy Edman is not in, so there's going to be no shortstop available for the Cardinals. As far as rostering on DK, obviously there was someone actually playing that position.
They're just not going to play shortstop today. It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Right.
Overrated. How's the shortstop position in general? Let's see, Turner.
So that's gonna make Anthony Volpe's ownership go up. He's leading off for the Yankees. So Volpe,
that's interesting. Yeah, I missed that.
And obviously, like Trey Turner's ownership goes up because if you're gonna have to spend money, like there you go, Trey Turner 5,600. I mean, like salary doesn't matter as much, and he has the highest projection raw points for a shortstop.
Volpe, lots of speed. If he gets on, he's going to swipe. That's basically his pedigree. Interesting that he's been struggling in there. He's sitting in the 9 spot, and I heard somebody speculating like maybe they put him in the 1 spot, they move him up, like get some protection from Judge, or they drop him down to the AAA, and this is what they're doing. They're starting him at leadoff. I think this is the first time this is happening. If I missed it, my bad. But Volpe for sure is going to grab some ownership. Who are the shortstops? And there's no Dancy Swanson. So
yes, there's no Dancy. You got Lindor there. I mean, they're fine.
Lindor's not going to get played though. Not
Probably
really.
not. But I mean,
But
Depends
like
on if you go up
Swanson
or
would have
down at
been
shortstop. Tovar, obviously, if he's in the Colorado lineup, he's 2,700. But I mean, probably bat 8th or 9th.
But there's no Cub is the point, right? And the one Mariner will likely be J.P. Crawford, who's not a fun roster, presumably buried.
It's a fun roster when he gets on base.
Yeah, when does that happen though? It's just the point is, and then you're kind of making the point is the 4 most appealing offenses on the slate by projections by any measure you're looking at: Seattle, Chicago, St. Louis, and Colorado. Here are your shortstop options. No one in Chicago, no one in St. Louis. Like your one-off shortstop, if you're messing with that, is going to be really important, right? Okay, and Tovar possibly for Colorado, Crawford possibly for Seattle. Volpe's going to get some ownership. Is the kind of point you're talking about there. Farmer for Minnesota, Sosa for Chicago, not fun guys to click on either. Adames versus Jameson, sure. Man, Trey Turner feels like an awesome spend up versus Cabrera. Turner speed power combination. Cabrera, 7 innings so far this year, 13 walks. If Turner gets on, he probably goes. I'm gonna find a way to get some Turner, and why not just all of a sudden turn that into like a 3-man stack on Philadelphia? There's the move. How about that, Blender? 3-man stack for Philly with some other fun stuff.
Sounds good to me.
All right, you're in. You're sold.
I'm sold. Depends on what the lineups come out. I have no idea. After the show, I'll be running lineups.
How much? Where are you at as far as the Yankees?
Probably, I probably won't have the Yankees.
Against, you're afraid of Peyton Battenfield?
Well, isn't that that's my name in the I'm pitching. That's my witness protection program name.
Well, exactly. I want to pick on you if you're throwing baseballs at a major league level. A Birdie beat up Nola yesterday. Did he steal some bases on him? I didn't see that. That's what John Birdie can do, basically. I wouldn't say he probably didn't homer a couple times, so we surprised. Jeffrey says he's using Battenfield. Okay, he's got somebody's rostering you, Blender.
Okay, good luck.
He was called up. I can't remember who he was called up for. I believe he was called up last year, I want to say, but never got into a game. So I think this is his MLB debut. So
he's called up last year and he's been hanging out at the stadium ever since?
Well, no, he went home when the season was over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think he just hung out at the, in the dugout, all for like months.
He's been waiting. He's been waiting there. They called him up and they never told him to leave.
He was like the dude from In the Hatch on Lost. Is that too late? Should I not have spoiled that? It's been 20 years, right? The people, you've either seen Lost or you haven't at this point. You should watch it, at least the first couple seasons. What else are we stressing here, Blender? What else we have to point out? Crunch Time crew coming in about 5-10 minutes or so. By the way, feel free to throw out whatever's in your mind there in chat. As you're considering some kind of questions, thoughts, more details, the better. Throw them out in chat. We're happy to discuss. Hit that like button. Yeah, subscribe.
Okay, I just ran 100 lineups again. The Yankees have moved.
What are we seeing?
So the Yankees.
Why is that? Are you adding some kind of like variance?
Do I care why? Because I reran the lineups because the pitchers change, lineups change. I mean, dude, the last time I ran this was 45 minutes ago.
Are you adding some kind of juice to it? You pumping in some variance? What are you doing when you're running lineups?
No, I'm doing without anything, just to see, right? Just to see. So I'm going through. Okay, so let's 5-man. What's the best 5-man stack for the Cardinals? 123, Mariners 119, Rockies 117, Cubs 114, Brewers 112, Yankees 111, Twins 109, Phillies 110, Diamondbacks 110, Miami 100, Nationals 103, Mets 102. So yeah. Maybe I'll get on the Phillies because, like, if Trey Turner gets played, it's quite possible he gets played with no other Phillies. So maybe you play the Phillies.
Is he going to be a popular one-off? You think?
Well, who else are you playing? If who else are you paying up for it?
You're spending down and you're punting it off, right? You're punting it off and spending elsewhere.
Well, either you're playing a shortstop in the stack with like a crappy shortstop, and we're getting a Mariners lineup in. Rodriguez, France, Suarez, Raleigh, Hernandez, Kelenic, Hummel, Wong, Crawford. So really not the real. I mean, nothing. It's the same
Big
lineup
Dumper.
as yesterday.
Hummel didn't play yesterday, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so you get Hummel in there.
Big Dumper, not DHing, by the way. He's actually physically catching for what it's worth. Yeah, there you go. Maybe he was DH last night. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I thought they might give him the day off. But, yeah, somebody asked Diaz versus Raleigh. I know Stroman's a ground ball guy, right? So, like, no matter how great the wind is, ground balls are ground balls, right? But
Right.
the ones that actually go in the air, it could be trouble. We talked about the weather several times. I assume it has not changed. Roth will be on in about 5-10 minutes or so. He'll let you know about Chicago. We saw this stadium go ballistic yesterday. Wasn't a ton of homers. There was plenty. But the winds are distinctly better today, 20 miles per hour today in Chicago. What do we have as far as a total? Has this changed? Because
now it's 11, right? It's 5.5 a side or so.
Yeah, and 13, St. Louis versus Colorado. And Flaherty, like, dude's been super, super lucky as far as dodging all his walks. And I know this Colorado lineup is not spectacular when we see it. It's not going to be great, but you can't keep getting away with it, as as Jesse from Breaking Bad would say, as far as Jack Flaherty, and is absolutely absurd. Just walking the world and still sort of getting away with it, not giving him a pile of runs. Eventually, it's going to bite him. Maybe it bites him today. Jose Urena on the other side. Biggest total we've seen this entire season for St. Louis, 7.29 as far as a team total. That's enormous. Double some teams, right? Well, depending on maybe later on this evening. Somebody's got like a 3.5 total. I mean, I guess you can just not play somebody in St. Louis. What is your strategy here as far as the Cardinals? How are you handling them? Because typically you're going to run away from this, or at least be less in the field.
Well, I don't mind having three Cardinals in my lineup with a stack that's not Cubs, Mariners, Rockies. Like I don't mind playing like a Phillies 5-man and a Cardinals 3-man or 2-man or something. I mean, I'm taking a look at like this top lineup. Like here's a Philly. Here's I mean, I just ran bat projections. It's like Snell, Canning. Then your stack is Realmuto, Bohm, Stott, Turner, Schwarber. And then your one-offs are Arenado, Cody Bellinger, and Jared Kelenic. Like, that doesn't sound that bad to me when the Phillies ownership should be fairly low. And then if you're playing Snell, Canning, you're not playing Wheeler. So that's how you would build a Phillies stack type of lineup. And if you wanted to play Jordan Walker instead of Cody Bellinger and with Arenado, or play Gorman instead of like that, I think this is perfectly fine. It projects for 110, which is about, a home run's worth of points lower than the Cardinals stack. Like, I think that's perfectly doable because you're getting much less ownership. It's like the top line. Like, do I want to play Bellinger, Kelenic, 5-man Cardinals, Zach Wheeler? I mean, no. I mean, I'm just going to be sharing so many points with so many people that have half my lineup, like 25% of the field has.
That Phillies lineup just dropped, by the way. Philadelphia not on the Fanduel slate, unfortunately. If you want to play Philly, of course, you can't play Wheeler as well. The quote-unquote safest pitcher, I would say, on DK. Stotts Tots is leading off. Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos, Realmuto, Marsh, Baum, Cave, and Roger Clemens, Kid, Cody. All right, you can play him as you want. Yeah, we talk about the weather in various spots and how it's positive. It's positive like everywhere, basically. If you look at Ross' weather report, I just went ahead and dropped it in chat for the people. It's green all over the place. Not just that, but like wind is blowing out most places. Philadelphia, we're looking at 80 degrees. It's heating up. Kind of a crosswind, I think. Is that a crosswind? Yeah, left or right. Okay, yeah, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Yeah,
imagine having Roth's job today. Roth's job has been easy. He just wakes up, he looks at the weather and goes, looks great, and goes back to sleep.
He's like a San Diego weatherman right now. Meteorologist, I say. Roth hates it when you call him a weatherman. He doesn't like that. He's probably lurking in the winds and listening to us and wants to chime in. Dude, he went to school and he had a lot of bills to pay for to get that term meteorologist. Those weathermen.
Dude, you know how hard it is to point at things on a screen that you can't see?
It's a learned skill.
Dude, if I wanted to point at you right now, I'm not sure if I should be pointing left or right to get you based on this side of the cat. But you're not on that side. I'm pointing in the opposite direction of where I'm seeing you at. So, dude, like Roth went to school for pointing at the right things in the right direction. I can't do it. So, like, to me, that's astonishing.
Yes, I went to school for pointing at the right things. That's it. That's what my master's degree in atmospheric science was.
Obviously pointing. You don't have a culinary degree if you're making ham and pineapple sandwiches.
Good Lord, it's too early.
I got pointing 101 at 10 in the morning. I can't go out for breakfast.
Right.
I knew that would get Roth. His ears are ringing for sure. Mm-hmm. We got Roth. We have Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. We have TJ TJ Zwarych and his Spidey Bombs. 2 for 3. 2 for 3 Spidey Bombs. 2 out of 3 ain't bad there, TJ. Who would you have? You had Kelnick. Who was your other bomb yesterday?
Kelnick and Mancini.
Yeah.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
Oh, is Rob here today?
That was
Do we have to pay? Do we have to pay royalties for that, or is that just short enough where like, they're not Marvel's not watching the show? I'm not really sure how that works out, but or has the statute of limitations is it up on that because that's like a 90-year-old song? What's questions?
I don't know. These are good questions.
Hopefully, there's no lawyers out there listening. But,
Right.
Yeah. TJ, you know about the Venom Bomb? Are you aware of Blender's Venom Bomb to counter your Spidey Bomb?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the Green Goblin pumpkin bomb because, like, he actually has literal bombs that he throws at Spider-Man. So that would be better. But I mean, what it is. He can go Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh's a great play. He's probably gonna hit a homer today.
Yeah. Blender, we got anything else for the people before we yield to crunch time?
No, I got the prize picks has more stuff up. Go grab the projections and go and compare. They got Stroman props just went up. Jameson, Gilbert. There's a lot of value on the unders so far this season, and been doing pretty well.
TJ, is this correct? Michael in chat saying Spider-Man is not Marvel. How did you not correct me if I was wrong?
Not only is Michael Zimmerman wrong, but he didn't even spell Spider-Man correct in the chat. So you're good, Dean.
Oh, so I was right. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. I don't. It's not my. That's not my wheelhouse. That's not my lane. But I thought I was correct on that. Myself and Blender, we're going to see ourselves out. You got Kevin Roth. You got Dave Potts. You have TJ. We'll be on later, starting at 4:45 because it's an early slate for baseball. I think it starts 6:35. I'm pretty sure. I want to say it's Kirkwood and myself and Head Chopper. The three of us. I think that's at least who's scheduled. We'll see who shows up 4:45. But for now, we have Kevin Roth, we have Dave Potts, we have TJ taking y'all home as far as this slate. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It's early. It's early to be in these MLB streets, but here we are, up and at 'em with two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got Dave Potts rocking the RotoGrinders tee in like, is that a teal color? It's very nice.
It's it's a light blue. I went a little, I just was feeling sparkly and bright today.
I would like that shirt. If you have an extra, please mail it my way. I will come get it. You don't even have to mail it.
I know a guy or two or five who work in an office with 4,000 of them. Maybe ask them and then come to me. But yeah, I'll mail you one.
Right. There's a whole company and there's a whole like swag room, I guess, that I could, could probably.
There is. It's that's one of the most exciting parts of the annual RG party is walking into the swag room and
it's true. TJ missed out. TJ would be rocking all this RotoGrinders gear, but no, missed out.
Next time I'll be there rocking so I can be rocking the RotoGrinders swag. But I mean, I still got the Agents of Fandom swag popping, so that'll have to do for today.
That works. Cheese, important question. How was your burger fiesta, your burger thing yesterday?
It was all right. And I can now tell you for real, it was a real actual like burger party with like at where I had to leave my house.
Okay.
And there were like 20 other people.
That's
so
legit.
It was an actual real like Cheese goes out.
It's called a restaurant.
Yeah.
Walks in and there's 20 other people already there at the restaurant.
Yeah. That sounds great. Can you describe the burger briefly before we get into the slate?
It was the pretty standard like bulk good patty. Like it wasn't like handcrafted burgers. It was like the guy had to go to, probably I'm going to say it was Publix because they were good burgers.
Yes. Yeah.
It was not like the Piggly Wiggly burgers. It was probably a Publix burger with all the fixings. It was good.
Okay. Not like the Bubba burgers that come frozen, that are just like.
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's good. Important question, and then we'll get to the slate. Was there cheese on the burger? Because I know your thoughts on cheese.
A lot of other people put cheese on theirs, presumably by accident.
We call those people correct. We call them right or wise. Okay, good. I'm glad I got a recap of the burgers. That was pretty necessary. Now we need a recap of the slates. First, though, we should say hi to TJ. TJ, what's up, man?
Good, just educating people on some Spider-Man lore in the YouTube chat right now. But I'm ready to dive into this slate. I love daytime baseball. I was up early watching the new episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. So I'm going to be spending my day prepping for 2 podcasts where I'm talking Star Wars and writing a Ted Lasso review while from episode 5 while watching some baseball. So I got a nice day ahead of me.
Your life is a funny life, man. It is. It's a good one. All right. Well, let's talk about this.
Somebody mentioned in our Agents of Fandom group chat today that like they accidentally referred to Star Wars as Stat Wars, and I thought that was kind of funny because that kind of made me realize like my literal 2 day jobs are Star Wars and Stat Wars because that's what we're doing here. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very good. No spoilers. Dean says no spoilers. Don't throw any spoilers, Mando spoilers to us. All right, Cheese, let's talk about this slate a little bit. First, let's talk about how great the Tampa Bay Rays are, and then talk about the slate, actually. You can start.
Yeah. I mean, the 2, unstoppable forces in this world are the Tampa Bay Rays and the Wrigley Wind.
Yes.
Those are them. And yeah, I agree. The Rays are amazing.
Yeah. You point out a very important note, which is if you liked the Wrigley Wind yesterday, we got tilted cheese.
I just like every time, like I fix it and then I look back and it's like,
yeah.
All right.
Hey, if you liked the Wrigley Wind yesterday, we liked
2 for 2 on the Spidey bomb, 2 for 3 on the Spidey bombs.
I think we should call them Spidey weather bombs.
Yeah. Probably if they're in Wrigley. It was very successful. There was a lot of home runs. There was a lot of runs. It's twice as windy today. It's warmer. It's twice as windy. It's literal perfect. It's perfect. If perfect was a game, this would be it for hitting. If you hit the ball in the air, it's going to get carried and then it's going to be a home run. So I got over 9.5 on one of the books, which I thought was silly.
Really?
I don't even know who's pitching, and I don't give a shit who's pitching.
Well, I don't know how you ever got a 9.5.
I don't either. Most of them were 10 or 10.5, and one of them was 9.5.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
On the free money.
I was like, these people are just wrong. Make sure you're checking out Scores and Odds, by the way, if you haven't done so. It's all of your favorite RotoGrinders personalities diving into sports betting. Geez, I've been nonsense babbling for 10 minutes. We got to talk about the slate, so why don't you get into it for us?
Yeah. So the whole slate is about the 2 games with all the offense, the Wrigley Weather game and the Coors Field game.
And the Coors Field game also hot with winds blowing out.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. It's stupid.
And so, the Cardinals, the first couple games did not come through at Coors, but like the pitchers just keep getting worse against them. I mean, this is their team total is up over 7 today. And I think any way you want to kind of throw them in a blender and mix them and match them, like Cardinals, Mariners, Cubs, and then followed by the Rockies, like those teams are going to score runs. It's just a matter of, could they be held to where they just score a lot of runs? Like they each score like 7 or 8 runs, and then maybe some other random team scores 11 and can still win. Mm-hmm. But it would be silly not to project those 2 games to be way ahead of everything else.
Gotcha. And I should note, you mentioned, another game could go off. There is a ton of good hitting weather. So make sure you check out the weather page. It's not just those 2 games, but by far those 2 games are the best. But if you want something else, in New York it's good hitting weather just about everywhere today. All right, Cheese, let's talk about the arms. Let's talk about the pitchers. That's my Uncle Charlie.
It looks good. No one's hitting that.
No, that's how you throw it. I don't know.
So we have got
used to be able to throw a baseball a quarter mile.
That's right. I'd throw it right over that mountain. All right.
There's a slightly different slate on the sites. FanDuel is adding this extra first game, which doesn't really matter for pitching. I mean, you could play Jose Urquidy if you really wanted to, but there's no reason to really want to. Essentially, on the pitching side, on FanDuel, where you don't have the Zach Wheeler game in there, you've basically got 3 inconsistent upside options, as well as Tyler McGill, who is, I don't love that he's facing the Padres, but basically Snell, McGill, Giolito, and Gray. And on FanDuel, Snell and Giolito are just so like they're $2,000 cheaper than those other two for really no reason. They're all essentially the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
They all have a pretty wide range of outcomes. They all have strikeout upside when things go well. So I really think you're just playing Snell and Giolito on FanDuel. And by all means, go up and play a little Sonny Gray since he had that great start last time. Like maybe he just goes on a little run here. And the crazy salary will keep him a little under the radar. But that's really it. Yeah, I have no case to make for anyone else on FanDuel personally.
Okay, what about DK?
So on the DK side, Zach Wheeler is the SP1 and the chalk. And then you can mix and match one of Snell, Gray, and Giolito. Or I'm also throwing Griffin Canning into the pool. It's his first start since 2021 with several different injuries, but he did strike out 10 in a rehab start. It was single A, so grain of salt, but he's also facing a single A team today with the Nationals. So I do like him okay for 7,400. But ideally Wheeler plus I have just essentially 33% of each Snell, Gray, and Giolito because they're all the same. One of them's going to be great. One's going to be okay. And one's going to get shelled. I don't know which one.
Okay, that's fair. All right. TJ, let's talk pitchers here. By the way, we like to start on FanDuel because that is our sponsor site. The show is sponsored by FanDuel. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a like. That's why you're watching it for free. Make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. TJ, hopefully your analysis is better than that read because I flubbed it like 6 times in 2 sentences. What do you got for us?
Words are hard, man. I don't blame you. It gets
early
difficult
on
sometimes, especially
early
when you're swapping screens back and forth or you're looking somewhere else. It gets difficult.
It's true.
Especially the earlier it is in the day. 10 likes away from a Spidey bomb. We got 350 people watching. Let's bring it up. Wow, there's a cat that just almost landed on me. We got the Spidey bomb. Spidey's ready to go right here. He went 2 for 3 yesterday with Mancini and Kalinic both going yard. So make sure you hit that like button. Yeah, same boat for me with pitching. Like on FanDuel today, I think for tournaments, my lean, like I kind of like a guy like Sonny Gray, but Blake Snell at $7,600. It's just on FanDuel, like that's just too good to pass up. Like that's just kind of broken compared to these other guys. And so obviously with him and Giolito going both at 7.6 and 7.3 respectively, other guys might have a ceiling game, but it's pretty tough to go elsewhere with these types of salaries. Then on DraftKings, Zach Wheeler, obviously the main guy. And then I'm doing what Cheese said in terms of just trying to get like 30-ish% of a bunch of other guys, Giolito, Gray, Snell, Canning. And then I'm also throwing Mackenzie Gore in there just because his projections isn't great. His long-term numbers a little bit worrisome, but he's cheap and he's had a phenomenal start to the year. And if he's still striking guys out against, I'm willing to take a shot on it.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it. Like bat and field can bat and can field, but do we know if he can pitch, Cheese?
He can't. I don't think. It is a great name. I mean, it's fantastic, and I'm rooting for it. Like, he's not ready for the majors. The only reason he's here is because they've got multiple injuries. He's wildly unnecessary. I can't make any case for him personally.
Okay. TJ, anything else you want to say?
We are 1 like away from the Spidey bomb. I know somebody's going to be clicking it right now, so I think I can go ahead and let the people in on the little secret in terms of who Spidey has for his first home run of the day. There is the beautiful, beautiful graphic from our man Steve featuring RotoGrinders, Spidey, Kingpin, and of course the Agents of Fandom logo on there. For Spidey bomb number 1 today, like I don't know. Well, chat can let me know. Is it? Am I allowed to go in the 2 big weather games? Maybe we'll see it for the second Spidey bomb, but for the first one, we're gonna go. Kyle Schwarber is gonna let one rip off of Eduardo Cabrera today.
Very good. Noted. Lock it down. Spidey bomb number 1 of the day. Schwarbs. TJ, let's talk about stacks here. What are you stacking up?
39 likes away from Spidey bomb number 2. So like don't get me wrong. Like, my primary stack today is still going to be the Cardinals. Like, they what looked like they were disappointing yesterday, but still put up 9 runs, had a few home runs. I think my top lineup was a Cardinals and Cubs stack. So Cardinals are still going to be my highest owned team today. And then it's exactly like Cheese was talking about, and they were talking about on the earlier shows. It's a tier 2 of the 3 teams in that game. In those 2 games, sorry. Seattle, the Cubs, and Colorado. All 3 of these teams are in awesome spots today. I'm going to be getting like 40% Cardinal stacks, 20 to 30 of each of those teams. And then I'm just basically trying to differentiate with 5 to 10% of all these other ones. I like the Angels. I like Philadelphia. I don't mind taking shots on the Mets or the Padres. I don't mind taking shots on Minnesota. But like the 2 teams outside of those 2 weather games that I'm probably going to get the most of, either as most likely as a mini stack, but potentially as a full stack, it's Phillies and the Yankees.
Very good. Cheese, let's talk stacks. You mentioned, I mean, everyone's kind of in agreement, but I do see in the chat here, Stand Up says Stroman is a ground ball pitcher. Be careful stacking the Mariners. Did you give that consideration or thought? I'm sure you.
Yeah, it's a little silly though to say. So the difference between a ground ball pitcher and not a ground ball pitcher is like 6%. So like it's great if you're a 52% ground ball pitcher. It means 48% are not ground balls.
Gotcha.
And when it's this kind of wind, like it's not, if he was an 80% ground ball pitcher, which doesn't exist. If it was Framber Valdez, maybe a little bit of a downgrade. But like, this is not a massive ground ball pitcher. It's not even Alex Cobb ground ball.
Okay. Thank you for that.
He's fine. Good
analysis. Okay. Very good. Let's talk about the stacks. Of course, they're the 2 big games, but there's other stuff.
There are. I'm with TJ. I know he mentioned the Yankees and the Phillies. I think the Yankees are the team I'm most interested in. Add Houston in on FanDuel with that early game. I like the Phillies a lot as a full stack later. And otherwise, I am throwing in a little bit of everything because other than, arguably Zach Wheeler, there's not a single great pitcher on this slate. And even the good pitchers are the kind that get shelled occasionally. Like Giolito, Gray, and Snell all have disaster games. So I'm still stacking against those guys. But Cardinals in their own tier, Cubs and Mariners and Rockies next, then Yankees, Phillies.
Okay, very good. Cheese. Yeah,
I want to ask Cheese quick. We did just get the lineup for Colorado, and there's no Chris Bryant, there's no Elias Diaz. How does that kind of affect your interest in them at all, or you don't?
No, actually,
cheaper ones.
I didn't like Chris Bryant anyway. Like, he's the guy who was fine to leave out salary wise. So no, does not bother me.
Okay, guys, we've got about 10 minutes here until FanDuel lock, I believe, right? It's FanDuel that locks first?
Correct.
Yeah, so let's dive in it. Let's go position by position. We'll do FanDuel and DraftKings, and then we'll just take some questions after FanDuel lock.
Okay. So, I mean, at pretty much every position, we're going to mention a Cardinal and at least something from one of those other 2 games. I'll try to point out where things are different, but you want Wilson Contreras. You want Cal Raleigh. You can play Cooper Hummel because he's 2,300 on DK. Otherwise, you are goofing around.
Okay. TJ, you sticking with those names or you goofing around?
No, I think I don't think you got to goof around too much, but I think the one I'd probably want to get most underweight to would be Contreras, just because he's picking up 25% plus ownership today, and we do have some other good or maybe not quite that much. Sorry, I'm looking at the bad ownership right now. 20-ish% ownership for Contreras. I'd rather go to Raleigh. I really like the idea of punting with Ryan Jeffers today. Those are going to be my 2 favorites for tournaments. And then guys like Higashioka in my stack, I don't mind either. Logan O'Hoppe, I'm fine with him in my stacks.
Very good. First base, TJ.
First base today, obviously on DK, you got Ohtani, and he's always fine. But Goldschmidt is going to be our number 1 first base play today by a mile. And then it's basically like on DraftKings specifically, it's basically like if you want to go up in price, you're paying up for Goldschmidt. If you want to go down in price, you're paying down for Mancini. Mancini over on FanDuel is 2.5K, so it's basically like, to me, the same thing, but you do have a lot more first base options on FanDuel as well. Guys like Abreu is in a good spot, Hosmer in that same game, Rizzo, Alonso, they're all kind of affordable, but to me, it's Goldschmidt if you're paying up, or Mancini if you're paying down.
Very good. Cheese, your thoughts at first. And if you want to be extra kind, Daniel just jumped on and said, hey, I just joined. He's late. Could you tell me the top pitcher other than Wheeler? You don't have to answer it. It is his fault. He was late.
Yeah, I mean, I said a straight 33 split on Snell, Gray, Giolito. Officially, I would go Gray, then Snell, then Giolito.
Very good. All right. That was kind of you. First base thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, very obviously, Goldschmidt is the guy. But he does cost money, as he should. Agree, like on DK and FanDuel too. Like Trey Mancini is cheap. I think Ty France is the guy who gets kind of left out of Seattle stacks. So I do like him. I'm always and still and forever going to play Rowdy Tellez for cheap and low owned against a right-handed pitcher. I do like him. But there's really not too much to say. Like Goldschmidt, if you can afford him.
Okay, very good. Take me to second. And we do kind of have to speed things up a little bit.
Yeah, although I'll say, like, there's not much going on. You might have an Astro stack on FanDuel, but everything else starts later and you can adjust your lineup. So I don't think we need to rush through it for the FanDuel lock, because it's that one game that's probably the least important game. And if you're in it, you're just stacking Houston Foley.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'll go as fast as you want.
No, that's fine. We can take our time then. I didn't realize that.
Second base is a Cardinal and a Rocky up top, Gorman and McMahon. But what's interesting now with the St. Louis lineup, on the DK side, they have 3 guys in the lineup who are second base only, which means they're going to split it up. And I think Brendan Donovan, again, is the guy who gets just forgotten, even though he's hitting leadoff, because Gorman's cheaper and he's the kind of bigger name because he has more power.
Yep.
And then Taylor Motter is super cheap. I think it's going to be hard for people to want to spend up extra for Donovan, which makes me just prefer Donovan and St. Louis stacks. He is the best hitter there. Like, not power hitter. Gorman has the most power, but like, just who's going to get on base and score a bunch? That's Donovan.
Okay. Very good. TJ, your thoughts at second?
Yeah, same thing. And on FanDuel, where you can play Moustakas at second base, you're basically just choosing one of 4 players from that game. It's either Gorman, McMahon, Donovan, Moustakas. I would rank them Gorman 1, McMahon 2, followed by Moustakas, then Donovan. But in tournaments, I think you can basically just flip that. And outside of that, in tournaments, guys like I'm basically just stacking. So like a Nico Horner, a Jimenez, a Wong, a Solano, all of those are guys that I'd be wanting to put in my stacks today. I'll bring it over to the third base position, and at third, it's Nolan Arenado. That is the cash gameplay. He is one of the most likely players to hit a home run today. He's one of the most likely to be one of the leading scorers on the slate. And then if you're just looking for a pivot off of him, there are some good ones. Patrick Wisdom is going to be my favorite one. Jose Ramirez, Eugenio Suarez is going to be my second favorite. Then there is the previously mentioned Moustakas as well. But this is a position where you can get different, and there's still tons of upside with guys like you'd play Jose Miranda in a twin stack, Manny Machado, Anthony Rendon. Like, all of these guys could hit a home run today, and they're going to be very low owned.
Very good. Cheese, third base.
Yeah, such a good position because Arenado is so obviously, hey, that's who you want to play. And Wisdom and Suarez are both pretty darn obvious. Hey, those are like the 2 fly ball hitters in the Wrigley Win game. All of that makes me just love Jose Ramirez. There's 3 players on this slate who are 3 of the best players in the world: Jose Ramirez, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, because none of them are in those 2 games and they're expensive. I don't think they get played, and you should play them, especially on FanDuel. Ramirez is only 3,600. Yeah, wind is great and all that, but I mean, I'll play Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
On the DK side, the Ramirez price is kind of silly. I'm still playing him. But like Suarez and Wisdom, I think will be just as popular as Arenado there because of the $1,000 savings is pretty useful. The cheap stuff is, I'm curious what happens with Nick Madrigal. Like he's batting second for the Cubs, but he's kind of like the least powerful Cub. I don't particularly like him. I'll include him in stacks, but I really want to spend up at third.
Okay, shortstop.
Shortstop is the one that doesn't have the obvious play from the two big games. So Edmonds not in the lineup, and the shortstop is like the weak position for these other places. So Trey Turner's pricey, and he's tough to play outside of stacks because of the salary. I think Tovar is fine as a punt. I honestly prefer Anthony Volpe, just as the random cheap guy, and I prefer JP Crawford in the win game over Tovar. Willy Adames is my favorite of the kind of spend ups, followed by Francisco Lindor.
Very good. TJ, throwing animals and giving us some shortstop.
My wife gets home tomorrow, which means her sister's partner gets home too, and I'm no longer babysitting this cat. So I got love for Oz, but he is the easiest easiest cat to take care of until I'm on a show. Short's a different position depending on the site that you look on. Jerkson Profar is available at shortstop on Fanduel at 2,800. And then there's plenty of other options like Lindor or Pena who are affordable and you can get there. But on DraftKings, it's a much tighter position. Like I'm either looking to pay up for Trey Turner or pay down for Volpe. This is a spot where I'm going to have a lot more one-offs than I typically would because it's a weak position. No St. Louis player you can play here. No Cubs player you can play here. Only one Seattle player you can play here. So I'm going to be looking to differentiate with some one-offs like Lindor and Adames, and then also one-off Turner and Volpe as well.
Okay, take me to the outfield, sir. By the way, coming up on FanDuel Lock, so make sure you're not doing anything stupid. You got time. Cheese said this isn't a prime game, but don't do anything dumb. TJ, outfield.
25 likes away from our next Spidey bomb. We obviously, and our first one was Kyle Schwarber, who was here in the outfield, one of my favorite tournament plays. Obviously we got the guys in this game, right? In Coors. So we got Tyler O'Neill, who's a strong play today. If we want to look at, perfect. My next set of builds just went in. So Wisdom is actually going to be my highest owned outfielder today at 20%. I got 20% Judge, 20% Kelenic, Trout, Bellinger, and Mancini, really just trying to spread out around these guys. And then also Schwarber is my next highest owned guy on that list. And then, of course, you have the St. Louis outfielders, Burleson, Tyler O'Neill, Jordan Walker. All of them are strong plays today. I think on the bat, Tyler O'Neill is actually the highest total, highest projected outfielder on the entire slate. So that to me is standing out as something very interesting as well. And then to save salary, I just love going to these Chicago guys like Bellinger and Mancini.
Very good. Cheese, outfield.
Yeah, those are pretty much the names of the best plays. There's a ton to like. You can do cheap and expensive. I definitely do. I mentioned kind of alongside Jose Ramirez, like Judge and Trout are the guys that probably just won't get the ownership they deserve because of the other games, especially now that Tyler O'Neill's in the lineup and it's cheap. And then you got like Hernandez and Rodriguez for Seattle. And then the cheap bats in that Cubs game are very chalky. Kelenic and Bellinger and Mancini. They're too cheap for the situation. I guess the other cheap guy I think you can play instead of them if you want would be Corbin Carroll. If you want something in just kind of this random leftover game. I do think Arizona is interesting. Like they're one of those teams that you can make a case as to why they're the random team that scores the 13 runs to win. But yeah, the names are the names and it's just how you're building.
Okay. Good stuff. Cheese, you want to take some QQs here?
I most certainly do.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to scroll up. I'm hanging out in the Discord. By the way, hit that thumbs up because you could get a Spidey Bomb and because you should. It's free content. We'd appreciate it.
17 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2. We got Mancini and Kelenic hitting yesterday. Like, those were both guys sub 15% owned. They were nice and cheap. Let's get these likes up for the Spidey Bomb.
Those are good calls. DK single entry from Bazinga Cheese. Playing Wheeler and Cubs. Do you like Canning, Volpe, Judge, or Snell, Turner, Kelenic?
Canning, Volpe, Judge.
Very good. Cheese, do you have a lean on...
Great, though.
Yeah. Do you have a lean on SP2 and DK Cash, Cheese? You kind of said you've got 3 of them that...
I honestly don't at all. Like, to pretend like you know which of those 3 is going to have the good day is silly. Honestly, it really is. I guess I will tell you, if it were me, I assume I would say I would play Sonny Gray. But it's not a strong lean at all.
Okay.
That's
Scorekeeper
the exact
says...
same way I feel as well. I would lean Sonny Gray, but it's not a strong lean. He's the one I have 40% of, and the rest are about 30. So,
okay. Scorekeeper says, TJ, I've got 2,600 left on DK in a GPP. Is that too much to leave? I love my lineup, but it feels weird leaving that much.
it would be for me, yes. But if it's a stack, then it's always possible to win. But I wouldn't be leaving that much on this slate.
Cheese, are you okay with it? 2,600?
I am actually. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. FanDuel Cash, TJ, Cheese, Donovan Burleson or Gorman and the Big Dupper Cal Rally.
I'll read that one more time.
It was Donovan Burleson or Gorman Cal Riley.
I would go Donovan Burleson.
Very good. Bryson Stott leading off. I don't know who that is. Is that exciting or not exciting?
The Phillies are that sneaky team. Excited may not be the word, but I do like him a pretty good bit.
Okay. We Major says, so no interest in Stroman on FanDuel due to Wrigley conditions?
Correct.
Yeah.
And Seattle's just plain good. Like, I wouldn't like Stroman even in no wind.
Okay. Really have caught up on just about all the questions here. We'll take a couple more before we bounce. Red Psych Sports says, last man and DK single entry, TJ. It's short. You want Tovar or Ahmed? Thank you.
Tovar.
Easy enough. DK GPP Cheese, would you play pitch to contact guy Battenfield and or Dre Jameson with his electric stuff?
Personally, I wouldn't. I don't have any of either. I could make a case for Jameson. Like, if you're going to play one of those guys, personally, I would play Jameson. I don't have him, but I wouldn't yell at you for doing it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on a 4-2-2 stack on DK? Either of you can answer this, but I assume your thought is
in general, it's fine. Yeah. It's like on DK, like on DK, I was thinking FanDuel.
It's okay.
I will say I'm especially okay with it today because especially that Seattle Cubs game, like it's most likely that you're just playing for the home runs, which makes I don't know that that's where the twos are, but if that's where the twos are, I'm happy with that. I think that's kind of what it is for me too. Is like it depends so much on who the players are. Like I'm not trying to 4-2-2 for the purpose of 4-2-2ing. Right, and you don't want your two to be Donovan and Burleson. Exactly, but if it allows me to get, if my two is Volpe and Judge, and another two is Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber. Oh, hell yeah. I'm great with that. That's awesome.
Okay. What's better? Geez, a Yankee stack with 2 Cubs and 2 Seattle, or 4 Yankees, 4 Phillies?
I mean, there is no answer to that question. Okay. Honestly. I guess, I mean, if I have to answer, I'll say the first one. Like the Phillies are the longer shot, I think, but there's not a correct answer to that question.
Okay. Justin says Gore and Canning is SP1 and 2. That doesn't sound right to me. Is that right?
I mean, you're stretching
running a lot of lineups. Try it.
Okay. But not if this is single
Not
entry.
at a single entry.
Yeah. All right. Do people
Again,
ever
it's just like if Zach Wheeler fails and then these other guys just have average games, like Canning and Gore both put up 15 to 20, and you have Judge, Arenado, Goldschmidt, Julio Rodriguez, etc. in your lineup because you did that? I do understand the temptation for sure. I don't hate that in large field tournaments.
Just a general question here from Slayer. He says, do people ever do 3-5 stacks? What's the most common stack as far as number? That is the most common stack, right? A 3-5. That's like that's the chalk. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the chalk.
It's like not always the chalk though, but it's supposed to be, and that's why it's such a good idea to do it.
Yeah, right. It is the most efficient thing you can do. It is the right thing to do on most nights. This is not DFS related, but any interest in Cardinals over 7.5 runs?
What are the odds? I don't.
Yeah, I don't. We're gonna.
They're projected for 7.3. Sure.
Yeah. All right. Sure. All right. We've got just a couple more questions.
Especially if you're playing DFS and fading the Cardinals, it's a nice little hedge opportunity.
Yeah. All right. A couple more questions. Cheese. DKGPP, can Cheese endorse Alex Bohm or Baum as my third baseman in a Philly 5-man stack, or would that be stupid given the third base options that are available?
I mean, if you'd called him by his name, I would have endorsed it for you. But
is Baum?
I don't know
Baum?
who Alex Bohm is.
What's his?
I can say that because CLT's our good old buddy here. It's Alec Bohm. In a Philly stack, play him. Yeah.
All right. Kelenic or Carroll or Belly, wind or speed? I don't understand the question, but Kelenic,
Kelenic and Belly, you're playing because they're in the win game. Carroll, you're playing because he might steal bases.
I see. Okay, thank you for breaking that
down.
down.
I'm going to let TJ answer the question.
TJ, Kelenic, Carroll, or Belly?
Belly, Kelenic, Carroll, but those will also probably be the order in which they're owned. So if you got a chalky lineup, maybe go Carroll, but like Bellinger would be my favorite, followed by Kelenic and Carroll.
Okay, very good. Okay. Oh, here we go. One last question. France, Hap, or Ward? Cheese, France, Hap, or Ward?
Hap.
All right, very good. Hey, with that, we have caught up on all the questions. We have ignored a couple of the trolls, and we are going to bounce on out of here. So for Cheese, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you later on tonight for a whole nother slate. You have been crushed.